I guess we'll be going live in about 10 to 15 seconds.
Can someone send the link on the chilling?
Yeah. I'll only send it. Okay, I guess we're live. So we'll just wait for like a few people to join, just like 1 or 2 minutes, and then we can start.
Yeah. Let's just wait another 1 minute. Then I guess.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So anyway, Ritik, like, how was the experience having all of these people, amazing people, like in Android Study Jams?
It was, to be honest, it was a really unique experience for me, as this was first time for me too conducting an event like this at this scale. So it was a really good experience, and from this, I hope like the people were able to get a lot of insights into Android. I mean, and maybe even start their Android journey from here.
Yeah, so you feel it was a learning experience even for you?
Yes.
That's good. So like this is the last session we are having for this Android Study Jams, and those of you who have joined, I hope you had a lot of fun making your own amazing apps and like getting to know Kotlin as a language more, and maybe applying it for a different fields such as backend and stuff. For example, Ktor, and I hope it was a really good experience. It was for me, to say the least, and. After this study jams, we'll be having a competition, and the deadline for that is 22nd January. And in that competition, you need to submit an app, and the best app will be sent to Google. And we'll be also sharing the coolest apps that we get on our social media. So please participate in that and like just make some cool stuff and like have fun. And secondly, we'll be also rolling out a progress submission form. That progress submission form will be like used to track your progress, and if you have completed all the required badges, you will be getting a certificate from us. So I guess Ritik can explain more about it.
Yes. So regarding the competition, just it's up to your imagination, whatever you can think of, or any app that you already made during the study jams. If you feel that's good enough for a competition, you can just upload it in the form that we'll be providing. And if you want, you can start developing right now also, because the deadline is still 22nd. Am I right, Siddharth?
Yeah, 22nd
Yeah.
for both of them,
So
for the progress submission and the app submission.
yeah, so you can come up with the app, and we'll be going through all the apps. And as he mentioned, that we'll be featuring the best apps on our social media, and you might also get a chance to be featured on the Google social media itself if your app is one of the best in the world. So I mean, you can keep your hopes up there, because all the people who will be participating in this competition will be relatively new to Android, right? So just give your best, and it'll be a good experience. And about the final submission, I think we already rolled out the form where you can upload the what do you say, the PDF to your badges, and that is the way we'll be judging you for providing you with the certificate. So if you have completed all the pathways and units, we'll be providing you with a certificate for the new to programming track.
Yeah, and both the forms will be shared in the YouTube chat and the Telegram group that we have. So make sure to like check these forms and submit before the deadline. All right, I think we can start with the session now.
Yes, let's start. So first of all, just so that I know people are there, send an emoji in the chat so that let's see how many people are even there, and how many of you are excited to learn Android today.
Harsh Avinash is here, we can see him. Actually, we are using a different platform today, so I don't think we'll be able to show your comments in the chat, like over here in the screen, but we are still reading it.
Nice, nice, nice. Quite a few people watching. So let's begin, I guess, with the today's session. I'll share my screen now.
Sure.
So today's session will be the last and final session of our Android study jams. But today's session will be a quite a important one. It will be short, but the content that you'll be learning in this will be used almost everywhere. So if you would have seen our posters, you would have already figured out that we are going to be, I mean, you're going to be learning about Recyclerviews today, which is an essential part of any Android app, right? In most Android apps you see, they would be using a Recyclerview. So it's a very important component, and in today's session we'll be learning all about it. So what will you be learning today? So as I mentioned, you'll be learning how to use a Recyclerview. You'll be getting familiar with Viewholders, which are a part of Recyclerviews. And then you'll also be making custom views. By custom views, I do not mean drawing custom graphics on Android, but I mean composition of multiple views together. That is what I'm classifying as custom views in this case. So today's schedule. First, we'll be building an affirmations app, and this app will be about showing you positive quotes or positive sentences which will keep you motivated. Then we'll take a small 5 minutes break, and finally we'll be ending this session on an amazing note with an professional app developer. He is a ex DSC member and is currently going to be a software engineer at Cisco. So stay tuned till the end because you will be getting a lot of insights from him as he has gone through the Android journey himself. Now, this is what we'll be building today. This is the affirmations app that I was talking about. So, it will contain cards of different items. The item will contain an image and a text with it, right? The text is the affirmation. So I hope now you have an idea like approximately what we'll be building today. So without further ado, let's get started. I'll go ahead and start my Android Studio. And again, like how we did in the previous sessions, I would like you to follow along with me in this one too, because you learn the most when you follow along, and you can clarify all your doubts. And we also have some people in the comments who will be there to help you out, right? So just keep asking me any doubts, and you'll definitely get your doubts cleared. So let's go ahead and create new project. This process of creating projects would have actually become now pretty normal to you, and you won't be feeling very confused on how to do it. So we'll click on the empty activity next, and let's give this app the name of affirmation app. Since I'm not creative right now, I just gave it the name of affirmations app. Couldn't think of anything else. You can maybe be creative and give it your own name. Okay, so package name, we can leave it at the default. If it would be configured for you, it might come in this format, right? Next, the save location, you can save it wherever it's convenient for you. Then language, Kotlin, of course. Minimum SDK 4.4, API level 19 will be perfect for this sort of project. So leave it at that, and we'll click on finish. Now, again, Android Studio will set the project up for us, and we'll have to wait for some time. So while it's loading, I'll just continue my legacy of beatboxing in every break. It's sort of become a tradition now, part of Android study jams. So I'll just drop a quick little beat for you. Let the project finish up. Okay, so yeah, Harsh Avinash is asking, can we have the repos for all the code so far? Yeah, definitely. This is a good idea, and we'll be uploading all these projects that we have built so far during all the sessions of this study jams. We'll share the link with you in the Telegram chat. Let it finish indexing. After this, we'll be set to go and start building our recycler view. Let's wait. Okay, so it's done. Now, I've been using this term Recyclerview a lot right now, but what is it exactly? Some of you might have heard of it, but many of you will also be unfamiliar with that term. So right here, let me just bring you back to the screen. In this app, you can see that there is sort of a list view, right? It's a list of different cards. Now, what a recycler view does is it helps you to build lists in an app. And in every single app that you would have seen, you would have encountered lists in some form or the other. Now, let's look at the YouTube app, right? So it has a list of items, and each item contains a thumbnail, which is the thumbnail of the video, and the title of the video, right? So there are multiple of these sorts. So that is what Recyclerview allows us to achieve. It allows us to build lists, and it does it in a very efficient way. So there's another view in Android which is known as ListView, but Recyclerview is really efficient in comparison to the ListView, because what it does is it basically selects certain number of items, it specifies certain number of items, and it keeps recycling them. So let's take an example right here. Here on the screen you see that there are three cards showing up, right? So what it'll do internally is that it will keep only three cards in the view, and like take five cards for buffer. The upper and bottom will be for buffer. So these will keep going down. If I drag this up, like the new cards will come, right? So the top card will get destroyed. I mean, it won't get destroyed. That's the magic about Recyclerview. Another card will just replace it. Instead of it being destroyed, like instead of the view being totally destroyed, another view will just take the position of it. So the total number of effective views in the whole app will just be 5 in this recycler view. There won't be like, suppose there are 10 items, there won't be 10 views. There'll just be 5. It will keep recycling the views in a way that the user doesn't get to know about it, but still it's very efficient inside, right? So that is why recycler views are amazing, and we'll be learning how to build them today. So let's get started. In this app, we see that there are many strings, right? There are many strings that we'll need to use. And instead of thinking about the affirmations yourself, our coordinators in the chat will provide you with the link, and you can navigate to that link and get access to those strings. Now, even I'll be going to the link. Once the link has been shared with you, you'll be taken to a page like this, developer.android. This is basically the code lab. You can navigate a bit down and find the strings.xml content. So go ahead and copy this, copy all these strings from affirmation 1 to affirmation 10, and you can paste that inside resources, layout, I mean not layout, sorry, my bad, values, strings, and right here you can paste all of them. So now we have successfully gotten all the strings of the affirmations inside our Android app. So you might be wondering, why did we bring all the strings inside of strings.xml? Why didn't we use it directly in a class, or why didn't we use it as a normal string inside the Kotlin code? Now the reason for that is that in most apps, not at this scale, but most bigger apps require you to have the app in multiple languages. So it's not that the app will only be in English. An app might offer you an choice to have the app in French or Spanish or any other language, right? So in that case, translating all these strings will become much easier because Android Studio provides you with a great tool to translate all these strings, and Android will automatically select these strings for the different languages depending on what the user has chosen as the language he wants to see the app in. So that is the reason why we always prefer to have these strings inside our strings.xml. That way, it's very easy to translate the apps, right? Now I'll give you like 1 minute to just copy paste this things inside your strings.xml. And once you're done with that, let me know in the chats done or something, right? So that I know when to move forward. Let's wait another 30 seconds. Okay, so let's move on now. So again, coming back to this image right here. Here you can see that in a single item, or if you want to refer to it as a card, in a single card, what are we storing? We are storing an image and a affirmation, right? The text of the affirmation. So to store these, we'll be creating a data class. So to do that, we'll go under our Java under com.packagename.affirmations app, or basically your package name, and right click on it, and we'll be creating a new package. So let's name this package model, and inside model we'll create a Kotlin class which will be called affirmation. Okay. Now, inside this class, since this class will be used to store data, we can use a data class of Kotlin to solve this purpose. So, in front of the class, let us add data to convert it into a data class. And here you can see that it's throwing us errors, and that is because a data class expects at least one property in its primary constructor. So let's go ahead and add that. In this case, the property will be val, and let's say it will be the string resource ID, and it will be of the type int. We can get rid of this curly braces surrounding the class, because in data class we do not need that, right? So what will happen is this data class affirmation will store a string resource ID for each one of these cards, right? So now we have the model, how we are going to store the data as in, but how do we generate that data? For that, we'll be creating another class called as a data source to basically populate a list of all these affirmations with the corresponding strings. So let's create another package right here, and let's call this package data. And inside this package, let's create another file, and I mean class, and name that data source. Yep. Okay, so we have created the class. Now let's create a function called load data, and this will return a list of affirmation, right? So let's implement this function. So we can be like return list of And inside this, we can start populating it with affirmations. And the way we can get the access to the string is through, one second. Yeah. So the way we get access to the strings is through the resources r dot string dot. First, we can import the r dot string dot the name of the string. So affirmation one, and similarly, we'll have to do it for all the 10 affirmations. So we can just go ahead and copy paste. My mouse not working. Okay, so let's just go ahead and copy paste it like 10 times. I mean 9 times, and name this 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and finally we need a 10. So just to go over this once more, if in case you're confused, what we did is we created a data source. I mean, first a model which consists of your affirmation data class, which will store a string resource ID. And here in the data source, we are basically populating the list of affirmation. This function will basically return a list of affirmations with all of these strings which are right here, right? I hope this is clear. And now basically we are done loading with the data of the strings. So to see if it works or not, to see if our data source class is working or not, we can write a simple thing inside main activity to display the size of data source inside our text view, which is initially created, right? This hello world text view which you see in the design view, we can replace it with the number of items in the data source. So this way we'll get to know if the data source is populated correctly. So if the result is 10, that means our data source is correct and it has been populated correctly. So first things, we'll create a data source. Let's store it in a variable called data source and equate it to data source. Make sure you import the right data source as there are other classes with the same name. Then we can store the list of the data. So let's just call it data and say data source dot load data. So now this data will contain the list of affirmations. To get access to this text view, we have to first assign it an ID. So come to your activity main.xml, select the text view and give it an ID right here. Or just to make it convenient, we can give it an ID from the text view XML. So ID, and let's call this something like size text view. Cool. Now we can return back to our main activity and store this text view in a variable. Let's call this size text view again, and equate it to, or basically we can specify the type of the uh, variable too. So it's a text view, and we can just do find view by ID and r dot id dot size text view, right? So this will get reference to that text view in this size text view. Now to set the data, basically to set the value of it, we can go like size text view dot text equal to data dot size dot to string. Now this will set the size of this data list to this size text view dot text. So it will display the size of this data list inside the text view of that hello world text view, right? So let's see if this works or not. Let's run our app and find out. Again, I'll be using a cable to connect my phone to my laptop, but you can also go ahead and use a emulator if that's more convenient for you. So just bear with me while I connect my phone. Okay, 1 minute. Cool. I hope my phone is visible now. So let's go ahead and run this app. Let the Gradle build finish. Let it finish. It's taking quite a long time, but what can we do? Let's be patient. Okay, so it's now installing. Yep, it's done installing. And right here you can see that it shows 10. Maybe it might be a little small on your display, but it shows 10, which is the size of our data of the affirmations, right? So our data source is working fine. And now, now we get on to the interesting part, which is actually dealing with the recycler view. So let's go to the activity main and let's get rid of this text view first. So just delete this text view. Cool. Now that is done. Our text view is gone. Our main activity will start throwing an error that there is no text view anymore. So we can again delete this line of code. So okay. So now coming back to our activity main, let's add a recycler view. So how do we do that? To make it simple for you, let's move on to the design view. And right here under the common palette, you can see the recycler view. So drag it and drop it. One more thing we can do is to remove this constraint layout, because constraint layout is usually used when there are multiple views on the screen, when the UI is going to be quite complex. But in this case, we are just going to have a single recycle view and nothing else on the screen. So we can get rid of this constraint layout and we can just replace it with a frame layout. So what a frame layout is, that it's a it's a very minimalistic layout which allows you to have only a single child inside it, and it it will basically just make that child fill up your screen, right? So it only allows one child, and it's the simplest layout in Android. So we can just give this Recyclerview an ID. Let's call this Recyclerview, because again I'm not innovative and can't think of any new names. So I'm just gonna name it Recyclerview, and uh, we can set the scroll bars to vertical since it will be a vertical Recyclerview. So you can do this too. And I think we are done for this part. Now we have successfully added a Recyclerview to our app. What do you think will happen if we run this app? Here you can see that it's displaying item 0, item 1, item 2 in the preview. Okay, let me know in the chats. What do you think the output will be when we run this app on our phone? I'll wait for your answers. I'll also turn on the fan as it's quite hot. No one has answered yet. Let's see who gets it right. We have no answer till now. So I guess I'll just run the app and show it to you guys. Gradle build is happening. And right here you can see that we have no recycler view at all. I mean, the recycler view is there, but you cannot see it yet, right? Because there are no items inside it. The recycler view is present here, but there's nothing in there, so it won't display anything, right? So yeah, so recycler view is done. Now our next task is to populate it with items. Okay, so how do we do that? Now, to populate the recycler view with items, we need to define an item first, right? We need to define what will one item in the recycler view represent. Again, going back to our presentation, here we can see that one item will contain an image and a text. But for now, for this part of the app, we'll just keep we'll just occupy the recycler view with a text view with all the different texts, so that we have built a basic recycler view, and then we'll move on to adding the images. Okay, so how do we do that? For that, we need a item, right? We need a item. We need a item layout. Now, each item will have a layout. To define that layout, we can go under layout under resources, right click on it and select new layout resource file, and let's give the file name item, or we can just call it list item. And as the root element, we'll be selecting text view and then hit on OK. So this created a new layout for us, and this layout will basically represent your one item in the recycler view. So for this, I'll be using XML to edit. And so what can we change right here? We can first of all change the width. Width is fine. We can keep it match parent. So each item will contain your, it will basically contain the whole width of the screen. And for the height, we can say wrap content, because we do not want only one word on a whole page, right? We want multiple words. So that's why we have done wrap content right here. Let's go ahead and give this text view an ID. This ID, you can call it item title. So now we have a way to identify this text view. Okay, yeah, so someone in the chat is asking, do we need a Recyclerview adapter? Yes, yes, Rishu, we do need a Recyclerview adapter, and that is where we are heading towards. So this is an essential part. You need a view first, a layout first, which will be basically inflated by the adapter, so that multiple items are visible on your Recyclerview. I hope that answers your question. Now, cool. So as you mentioned about the adapter, that is the next thing that we are going to be building. So I'll just close up some things so that it's visible for all of you. And to add an adapter under our package, we'll be making another package called adapter. You'll see me making multiple packages here, and that's always good to make many packages, as it helps you understand the code better and helps you structure the code much better. So inside this, we'll create a new class called item adapter. So this will be our adapter. Now, what does an adapter do? What an adapter does is that it's basically the whole brains of the recycler view. The recycler view does not know what to show, but the adapter basically tells the recycler view on how to show different items. So the things that you'll be specifying to the item adapter will be things like how many items are there in the recycler view. How do you want each item to be rendered on the recycler view? Corresponding to what index do you want what item to be basically rendered, right? So this is the whole brains of your Recyclerview. Here you'll be doing things like on tap. So what will happen when you tap on a Recyclerview item, or on long press? You can do all the different stuff right here. Now, the first thing where we start with in the adapter is by defining some properties in the constructor of it. So this adapter will need to know what data is going to be coming in the recycler view, right? Because this is responsible for showing the data. Now, to pass in the data, we can define a variable. It can be private because it's only going to be accessed in this adapter. Private val, and let's call it data set, and it'll be of the type list of affirmations. Cool. So now we have access to the data set of all the affirmation. Now, one more thing that we'll need in this adapter is the context. So even that can be done by defining a variable context, and it'll be of the type context. We can import this. Okay. So yeah, so we have all the required things inside the adapter. Now we'll create another important part of the adapter, which will be item view holder. So what this part does is, as the name suggests, it keeps a hold of all the views of your list item. So here you can see we have a layout, right? It's a layout for the item. Now what a view holder will do is it will keep a hold of all the views which are inside your inside this layout. So that is quite an important class. So let's go ahead and define that. Let's call it item view folder. And as you can notice, I'm defining this class inside of this item adapter. This basically specify the structure as developers that item view holder is only going to be used by item adapter and not by any other class. So that is why, for better readability and understandability, we put this inside the item adapter. So what do we need inside this item view holder? We need a view, basically the reference to this view, right? So let's just say view, and it extends view. Now it will extend your recycler view dot view holder, and it expects an view. So we pass the view which we received from here inside the view. So this was about the definition about the class. Now what goes inside here? So as I mentioned, this will hold all your views which are in your layout of your item. So let's get a hold of them and define a variable to store the list title, item title. So call this item title, and this was of the type text view, and you can equate it to view dot find view by id, and r dot id dot it was called item. We have to first import the r, so import that first, and it was called item title. So now we have access to this particular text view right here inside of our item view holder. Cool. Now this part is done. Now what we do is, the item adapter also has to extend a particular recycler view adapter. So that is what we are going to do next. So let's make it extend recycler view dot adapter, and it expects a view holder. Now as you remember, we just created this view holder right here, so we can get a reference to it by item adapter dot item view holder, and you have to close it. I mean, you have to basically have a opening and closing brackets after this. So now we have defined, we have extended the item adapter by recyclerview.adapter, and we have specified the view holder inside of it. So now it shows you some errors, right? One second, let me just go through the charts. I see some activity happening. Okay, so Rishu is asking what is context, and what context is that it allows you to know several properties about. Okay, let me explain in a better way. So your main activity will have an context, right? And that context is of the main activity. It will contain all the properties of that activity. The context will contain the properties of that activity, and that is what we needed here in the item adapter, so that we get access to those properties. You'll see where we use it in the item adapter pretty soon, and I hope that answers your question. So yeah, so I was on this part where it's throwing us some errors. It's saying that this create view holder is not implemented, and it is showing some several more errors. Now this is because the class that we have extended from requires us to implement or override some several functions, and those are mandatory. We cannot skip them. We need to override them. So to override those methods, we can click on Control I, and we'll get to see a list of all those methods slash functions which have to be overridden. So select all of them and click on OK. Now here you'll see that it has created the function definitions for all of them and set a to do that it has not been implemented yet. So let's go ahead and start implementing all of them one by one. Now, at first, this whole concept of item adapter is pretty daunting and might seem weird to you because there is a lot of things happening here. You might be getting confused. What does an onCreate view holder does, onBind view holder, or get item count? But for now, just try to keep along. And as you'll keep implementing Recyclerviews in several different apps, you'll keep getting better at it and you'll keep understanding more and more about Recyclerviews. I can guarantee you that. So to explain what get item count does is, it basically tells the Recyclerview how many items are going to be there in the Recyclerview. Pretty straightforward. It's just going to tell the Recyclerview how many items are going to be there in it. So as you can see that it returns a integer. So we need to tell it that how many items are going to be there. So the way we can do it is just removing this to do, and we can return dataset dot size, because whatever dataset that we are going to be passing, that is going to be the size of the Recyclerview in the end, because that is the number of items that we want to get displayed, right? So that is why we return dataset.size. Now we come to onCreate view holder. Now what is onCreate view holder returning? It is returning an item view holder. So how do we populate this? Now to finish this, basically what onCreate view holder will do for you is it will create the view holder. It will create the item. So again, getting back to this example right here, it will create this view for you. It will inflate the layout for you for each of the index of the Recyclerview. So that is what the onCreate view holder takes care of. And the way we do it is we can define a adapter layout equated to layout inflator dot from, and we use parent dot context, and we can do something like dot inflate, and this expects us what are we going to inflate, right? What are we going to inflate in this case is going to be the list item which we created, because that is a single item which will be part of our list. So we say r dot layout dot list item dot okay, not dot, it expects several more parameters. We say parent and false. Cool. So this will take care of basically inflating this list item for us. Now we need to return item view holder, right? So return item view holder, and this expects adapter layout, because if you can see here, we expected a view in this item view holder, and this adapter layout inflated that view for us, and that is why we are passing it inside item view holder. I know at this point you'll be having many doubts, like what is this parent coming, where is this parent coming from, and like this whole syntax looks pretty confusing. It short it for me. In the start, even I was pretty confused by Recyclerviews, but they'll get easier as you keep implementing them. Okay. Uh, yeah. So Arsh is asking, I'm somewhat behind. I'm getting an error on using list of. It's asking to create a function. Hmm. Okay, Arsh, first of all, I think I may be going a little fast. I'll give you guys like around 2 minutes to just catch up, 3 minutes. I'll just stop right here and you guys can just catch up. So, I cannot really help you until you tell me a little more specifics about your doubt, because just check if the list of you're using is actually the list of from Kotlin, because there's just see if the O is capital in your list of. I'll give you guys another like 2 minutes to cover up, because like since I really want you guys to code along with me, it'll be good if each one of us are on the same page and you guys are actually coding along. Okay, I hope this should have been sufficient time to cover up. If not, if like I'm going super fast or you want even more time, let me know in the chats, but I'll be continuing now. So, what the onbind view holder. Okay, yeah. So what the onbind view holder basically tells the recycler view is what you want to bind in the inside of each item. So corresponding to each item in the recycler view, the zeroth item, the first item, second item, third item, right? That way, what do you want to bind? What is going to be the data? So that is what we do it. That is what we do it in the onbind view holder. So let's first define the item, and that is going to be our data set and of the position. So as you can see that in this, we get access to the position, which is the position of that particular item in the recycler view, and we want it to correspond with the item inside our data set of that position, right? Now what we do is we have access to our item view holder with the variable called holder. So we do holder dot item title. So as you might remember, in the item view holder, we had created the item title to basically have in reference to the item title in this layout. So we can assign this item title the text is equal to context dot resources dot get string, and here we pass in item, not item count, item dot string resource id. So yeah, so coming back, you can see we used context here, right? This is the context which we are getting from here. Now, this context was basically used to look up the Android in the Android structure and get the resources corresponding to the string resource ID. So what it did was that we got in resource ID, it looked up, it went to the strings.xml, found a corresponding resource ID, basically matched them, and whatever string it got, it returned. I mean, it set the text of that item title as that. So now I hope everything is coming into place and you're able to imagine how it's happening. So this was actually all about it in the adapter. So we are almost done and our adapter is ready to go. Now what we have to do is we have to actually set up this adapter in our main activity. So firstly, we get access to the Recyclerview. So let's just call this variable Recyclerview. It will be of the type Recyclerview. And let's equate it to find view by ID r.id.recyclerview, because that is what I had named it in my activity main. So once we have access to this Recyclerview, we have to set the adapter, right? So we do Recyclerview.adapter is equal to item adapter, and as you remember, it requires a context, so we're going to pass this as the context, and the data set we're going to pass data. As you can see here, we had defined data before, which is the list of all the affirmations. Cool. Now another thing that the recycler view requires is a layout manager. So we say recycler view dot layout manager is equal to linear layout manager, and this too requires a context, so we just pass in this. So now we have assigned the layout manager to, and this is done. Now we are ready to go. So okay, actually there's one more optimization that we can do in the recycler view, and that is we can set recycler view dot set has fixed size true. Now, what this is doing is that it is basically telling the recycler view that there are only going to be this many number of items in it. It's not going to be, it's not going to change. It's not going to be dynamic, and only this many number of items are going to be there. So right now in this case, we only have 10, and the reason why it'll become more efficient is that it already knows how many views it has to inflate, and it'll keep recycling them further on, and that is why it becomes much more efficient. Now for the moment of truth, let's go ahead and run this and see if all these strings show up in our app. It's installing, and let's see the app. There you have it. We can see all the different strings. uh, I'm so sorry. um, so you can see all these strings. You can see the 10 strings, right? And you can see that it's a list, as you can see the reaching the top of the list animation. So right now the list doesn't look very good, right? It doesn't look attractive, it doesn't stand out. So to improve that, we can make changes to a list item. So first of all, one thing that I would like to change is give a little bit of padding to the thing. So let's say 16 dp. Let's make the text color black, and the hex code of black is hashtag 00000. Like, is that right? Yeah. And one last thing that we can change is, actually no, this is good enough, I guess. So let's just run this again. And yep, so now it looks much more cleaner and it's visible a lot more better, right? Okay, so yeah, one thing I would like to change is the text size. So let's make that 18 sp. Let's run it again. And yep, so now the text is pretty big, and you can see all the different strings of the affirmations. So we are almost there towards our final app. Now, what do we need? What is the extra part that we need? We need to add these images, right? In the final app, we have the images, but right here we only have the text till now. So how do we do that? Now, if you have attended the previous study jam session, you would remember we can easily import images into our Android Studio project. So our coordinators again will be sending you a link in the chat for the images. Go ahead, download them, and then we'll start importing the images into Android Studio. So let's just I'll wait for you like 2 minutes to download the images, and then we'll move on. I already have the images downloaded with me, so you guys can go ahead and do that. Since this is the final study jams, I guess I'll give you another beatboxing session, because anyways, even I have to wait for like 2 minutes, and maybe you guys can be entertained in those 2 minutes. So here's a freestyle. Let me know when you guys are done with downloading images. Just type done in the chats so that I'll move on. Okay, Harsh Avinash is done. So I'll just wait for like 2, 3 more duns, or 1 or 2 more duns, and then I'll move on. Okay, Prabhu B is also done. Yeah, so Jeevan has shared a pretty good link, why SPs for text sizes. You can make sure to check that out, because it'll give you an insight why we use DP for like specifying the padding margin versus why do we use SP for text size. Okay, so I guess most people would be done by now. And actually, you know what? Like, if you're not, if you are pretty behind, let me know in the chats again. Uh, if you need like extra time, but for Rishu, the images link is not working. Maybe it's like the downloads off for you for some reason, because it's a maybe try a different browser or something. Just okay. So just make sure you download the images, and now I think I'll move on because some people have been waiting from quite a while. Uh, Cool. So we have the images now. So you might have it in like a image folder. So what you do now is go ahead and copy all of those images. Copy these images and come under resources, drawable, and paste these images right here. So just either one of them. Click on refactor. So yep. So now we have imported all those images inside of our Android Studio project, and we can start using them inside our app. So one change that we'll need to make right now is inside a model, the affirmation model, we'll have to add another field to store the image resource ID as well. Because now we have a string resource ID and we'll also have a image resource ID. So to do that, I'll add another variable and call that image resource ID, and it will be of the type int again. So yep, so now our data class looks good to go. But one more change that we can have here is we can use decorations and add a at the rate drawable resources decorator, because what this will do is let me just go ahead and quickly add this string resource decorator too. Now what this does is that it basically tells Kotlin that this variable right here is going to be a drawable resource. Since both of them are integers, how does Android know how to differentiate? Like how does it know that it's receiving the correct type of resource? Because right here we need an image, but right here we need a string. So to make sure that we do not mess up, to make sure we do not pass a string inside an image or an image inside a string, we use this decorator, which will make sure that we are only able to pass in a drawable resource inside this variable resource, and a string resource inside this one. So that is why we use them here. Now this part is done. So what we have to do next is we loaded the data, but we need to populate our list again, right? So as you can see, it's already throwing some errors because it expects a list of images too. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's say r dot drawable dot image one, and we'll have to do this all the for all the affirmations. So add the corresponding images as well. So just copy and paste it everywhere. This is what a true developer does. Copy paste. Now just go ahead and change the numbers of the images, so that we have different images for all of them. And there you go. We have populated our data source too. So now this affirmation class will contain image and a string, both of them, right? So basically we have the data which we require to make something like this now. So we'll just have to do two more last changes and you'll have a list like this. So that's pretty cool, right? So now what do we do? Now, you can see here in the example that the layout has changed. It's not a text anymore. it is a layout which contains a it contains an image and it contains a string. So to accommodate that, what we do is, first of all, let us convert this string text view into a single uh, XML tag. So let's create a layout. In this case, we'll be going with linear layout. Close this tag. What I mean is basically enclose this text view inside of a linear layout. Now it is throwing some errors, and that is because we haven't set all the required properties for it. This linear layout, what is the width that we need? The width, we can have it as match parent, and the height, we can have it as wrap content. So now we have a text view inside of the linear layout. Now all we need is another image view, because that is what is going to be used to display the image. So the width will be match parent again, and height, we can give it a hard-coded value of 196 dp. So yeah, so image view is defined now. Why is it coming as a multi-line? Okay, so yeah, let's give it an ID. This will be called as item image. I forgot the plus. Oh no, plus. Yeah, and one more property that we can give this is the scale type. This will be center crop, so that it will not stretch the image. It will just crop it in the center to fit the image view. Okay, so looks good. This looks good to me. I think we have correctly configured the layout for this particular what do you say, for this particular item. One change we can do is right here we can decrease this padding to 8 and add a padding to the linear layout, so that add a margin basically to the linear layout, so that it will be properly spaced. Let's give it a margin of 16 dp. One last change that we have to do is in the item adapter. So in the item view holder, we have another view now, right? So that view is of the item image, and this is an image view, and it's we can find that view again by find view by id. So r.id.item image, and now we have reference to that image view over there. So now again in the Onbindviewholder, we'll have to set the image, right? So we can get access holder.item image and dot set image resource. The way we get this resource is actually, yeah, so this will we do not need to get the resource from the context. This by default it accepts a resource id. Just pass in item dot image resource id, and this should set the image. And this was it. We have basically added an image to our item 2, and it should work. Let's go ahead and run this app. So let's hit run. Let's see what happens. Hopefully it works. It's installing. And okay, yeah. So this is happening because in the linear layout, I did not mention that I want my linear layout's orientation as vertical. It basically assumed I wanted horizontal. That's the default. So I specify orientation as vertical, and let's see what happens now. Let it install. And yep, there you go. So we have an image and a text corresponding to that image. Doesn't this look pretty cool? Like, I mean, Recyclerview is actually the most exciting thing because there's so much you can do with it. You can make a notes app, right? You can you can make a to-do list app. There's so many things, basically anything, right? It's very powerful. Now, I guess I'll give you another like 2 minutes to catch up if you are lagging, and then we'll move on to the last and final part. of this app. And I hope you're enjoying this session. Like, I hope you're learning a lot. So whatever you learned today, just make sure to practice it in another app. So I would suggest you try to make a notes app, note-taking app, which utilizes the recycler view. And one challenge that I'll give you is make it so that, so I'll give you the specification of the notes app. Okay. So make a notes app which will allow you to add a note, a simple note. It will be stored in a recycler view, and then basically have it in a way that you can reorder the notes. You can drag to reorder all the notes and swipe left or right to delete the note. So this is a challenge from my side. Make this app. It'll be a really good learning experience because it'll test most of your skills. So yeah, make this. So to whoever who's watching right now, like, so make sure you participate in the competition, right? Because the deadline for that is 22nd. And even if you haven't started, you can still start making your app and submit a really good one. So let's move on. Now, one last thing that is remaining is adding a card layout, basically a card-like structure. Here you can see that it's enclosed in a card, but right now inside our app, it's not inside a card, it's just inside a linear layout. So that's a pretty easy thing to fix. What we can do is we can import a card layout, a card material card view, and we can just if I can copy this, yeah, enclose the linear layout inside of it. Copy this XMLNS Android to your card material card view. Now give this a width of match parent, height of wrap content, and we can give it a margin. Let's give it a margin of 16 dp again. We can remove the margin from this linear layout right here, and that should be pretty much it. The material card view should work, and we are expecting to see the image view and the text view inside a card. So let's run this again. And there you go, guys. We have nice looking cards which which contain an image and a text, both of them, right? So it looks pretty neat, looks nice. It looks like an app you can show it to people and they'll be pretty impressed by it. So one more thing that I can show you is that is also pretty good, because right here you have encountered you have dealt with the linear layout manager, and what the linear layout manager does is that it basically shows the list in a linear way. So this is linear, right? It's one after the other. All the items are one after the other. But there are several occasions when you might want a different layout itself, right? You might not want to stick to the linear layout manager. So in case you do not want, you're lucky in this case because Android provides you with several other. Like, I'll just go over one more, which is the grid layout manager. And what this expects is a context, this, and the span count. So what the span count is that how many columns do you want? Wait, do you even call it columns or rows? It's basically how many verticals do you want, right? So that is what the span count signifies. So only with this change, putting this instead of the linear layout, we'll get quite a different result, and that UI will look different compared to the one we had previously. So I'm running it again, and there you go. You can see it's already looking so much more different. The app already feels different, right, compared to that linear layout. So you can even what I meant by span count was, so if you do 3, you'll end up having 3 different items on one single column. So let's see how that turns out. It won't look very good, but I'm just doing this to demonstrate. So yeah, here you have 3 different cards on one row. But personally, like the 2 span count one is my favorite. It looks really neat and looks pretty cool, at least in comparison to the linear layout. So there you go, guys. We are done with our affirmations app, and you have learned a lot throughout this. And I really hope you put your knowledge to the test by making an app and submitting it for the Android competition. That's it from my side, guys. Thanks a lot for attending all the study jam session. For those of you who stuck around, all of them attended every single one of them, from the first session to the second and finally to the third. I'm really happy for you, and I hope you guys learned a lot about Android from these. So, yep, thanks a lot, and it was an amazing time for me too, sharing my knowledge with all of you. So, yep.
All right. Thanks a lot, Ritik, for sharing your valuable knowledge with us. And we had fun building some really cool apps here. And now we have Prateek over here. Prateek is our lab lead and DSC member. And right now he's an incoming software engineer at Cisco. So, Prateek, would you like to give an introduction?
Yeah. Hello guys, I am Pratik Mewara. I am mobile application lead of DSC VIT, and I am incoming software engineer of Cisco. So I'll be joining Cisco from 27th of January for full-time opportunity.
All right, that sounds pretty interesting. So, Pratik, can you tell us a little bit about your Android journey and how you started Android and why you chose Android and how it has been for you? So, like a little bit about when.
Yeah. Actually, when I entered the college, like I only knew Java. The only thing I studied till my 11th, 12th was Java, and till about that time, I was not known to very much about the mobile application backend or front end. I was not introduced to any of these because I was preparing for JEE and all. So when I entered the college, the only thing I had was I know the coding, which is Java. So after that, I didn't have any glimpse of anything. So I went to one of the hackathons during the Gravitas. So over there, I met a lot of seniors from different communities, and what they were doing, I got opportunity to see like what all things are there. And then in that 24 hours, I tried to explore the front end, back end, and app development, all three of them. And I found app development interesting. I found like this is the what my kind of thing, what I can do. And then that 24 hours, I tried to give my 100%. I know like that day also I knew like I won't be able to make it or win this competition, but I gave my 100% just so that I can understand what it is, and I learned very much in that 24 hours. And after that hackathon, I started doing Android application in Java. Then I continuously moved on. I learned day by day. Then there was recruitment for all the clubs. So I joined DSC after that as the mobile application member in the core committee team. Then after that, DSC provided me with a lot of opportunity with the good projects, which made me explore a lot of things around the mobile application development. And then I got to introduce to Kotlin. Then I switched to Kotlin and I learned Flutter also. So it moved on, like kept on moving further with the mobile app development.
So, Pratik, how was your experience in DSC? Like, can you like tell us about some interesting projects you worked on?
Yeah. So the DSC I found was the most important thing in DSC. What I liked was like we all used to work together. So even though I was doing a mobile application development, I knew like how backend works, how front end works. So because we were in the community, and every day we used to learn something. It wasn't like I am a senior. Like sometime I used to learn new thing from Siddharth. Suppose Siddharth is exploring something new and he comes and talks to me about it, because I can't learn Android app development as a whole because it's a lot of things to cover. So basically, how I learned Android was I used to do project, and during that project I used to learn what all things are required, and I kept moving like this. So every day was like I used to learn something new. Even when I was the mobile application lead, like I used to interact with all of you. I used to get new things, and I used to learn. And from the other domains also, like from front end, back end, I used to interact. I used to get more knowledge. And the projects I did was the one of the project, like good project was the Hades. Then election which we did was for the for the government election project of the Tamil Nadu. So that project, like, it provided me great opportunity. After that, Athena. So I really worked on really good projects. So it was really great experience, and more importantly, working with the community, you get to know how to work with all the people, and it gives you the basically environment, how you can work in a company, how you need to collaborate with all of the team members and manage everything.
That's really great.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds pretty inspiring. And could you tell me a little bit about why you switched to Kotlin? What made you switch to Kotlin from Java?
Yeah, Java, I knew Java very well, but thing was that for Java, I need to write lot of code. Like for a small amount of work, I used to write lot of code, and the file used to be very much cluttered. Like managing code in Java it's like a hassle. So that's why I chose Kotlin over it, because Kotlin, it's like very easy and very concise, and it's the code written is very neat. And another thing was the inline function code is like pretty faster than how it's executed in Java. So Kotlin is faster and it's new upcoming language. So I found like it's a good opportunity to learn this language also. So I started learning Kotlin.
Those are some really good reasons to switch from Java to Kotlin. It makes the code much more concise. So that is really
Yeah.
good. And how's your experience been with some internships or some?
So internship, basically I did my two internships in my second year. First year internship during my vacation, I didn't do anything because I was learning at that point of time. In the second year, I got opportunity in two internship. One was the startup and second one was the ISRO internship, which was the government internship. So the first one basically I got because of the work which I did in DSC throughout, because the companies in the internship, they don't look for the DSA importantly, because they don't have so much in the 2 months of time, like they can teach you and they can get work out of you. So basically they need the person who already knew everything. So the projects which I did in DSC, I showcased to them, and they found me like it's good. It could be good for me having with me there. So I joined their internship. It was a startup called Peakhole, and what I found was like the project which I did, it was really so much added weightage to my resume. Like when I used to discuss in the startup also, like my thoughts, my everything what I spoke in the startup, it was considered because they found like I'm an experienced person. I know something very well in Android, so I can be right at some point of time. So they used to consider in my thoughts in the discussion also. So DSC helped me in this way also during my internship. Then in the after doing so much of projects, so you eventually when you code, you know how conceptually the coding works. So in the government projects also, like I got the opportunity because they needed some software to be made. It wasn't of mobile application, they needed a desktop application, but they knew like it's kind of, if a person knows how to code, he can code this thing also. So I did my government internship in ISRO also in Nagpur. So it was a really good experience, both of them.
Yeah, so what you mean to say is you got a lot of internships because of Android. So do you feel
Yeah, because
Android
of
opportunities for people or upcoming Android developers?
Yeah, sure. Because mobile is right now is very handy, and people prefer having applications over going to website, because website sometimes doesn't work efficiently, have some problems, bugs. Website sometimes it's buggy. So applications are very much easy to be used, and it's very convenient to people to use application. Most of the companies are looking for applications. They need applications to be made so that The user, it's basically user friendly and easy to use by the people, because the old people, they don't find it easy for them to go onto website and search for something and then click and go inside. It's like it's very easy. The person will need to look for a hotel, it will go to GoIBivo and directly click on GoIBivo. So it will be easier. It's hassle free. It's easy to use rather than website or anything. So people, there are good amount of opportunity in India also, like for the mobile application. There are a lot of startups coming up in day by day, like in Bangalore, if you see, and everyone is looking for the mobile application developer.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So actually, we have a question here from Rishu. Rishu is asking, which courses did you pursue for app dev? So,
Uh,
is the course you pursued for app dev?
No, I didn't pursue any like specific course for the app development. I used to take a project, like mini project, like as I was seeing the session, how Ritik suggested one of the project, like you can do that. So similarly, I used to take the project. Suppose I need to make a notepad, so I will learn how to make notepad. What all the things, elements are required during the process of making of notepad. So I used to learn those elements from the documents itself. I find like the documents for Android and the websites also provide a lot of easy information available, which we can learn directly rather than going for the course, because I feel courses are very much made in a pattern that can't give you the total knowledge of everything. Suppose I make a course, so I will teach you what I understood, and from website you get the whole full point of view and you can understand each and every point. I might lose out while making a course some point because I forgot. But in websites and all, everything is properly mentioned in the documentation. You can easily go and learn from there. And it's better to do a project based learning rather than going for some course.
So yeah,
Also,
yeah.
guys, Pratik here has a course of his own on Flutter. So, if you want to, you can go and check it out on Udemy.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Do we have one more question?
So, yeah, Pratik, go on. We have one more
Yeah,
question, right?
so George is asking, I know Kotlin. Any suggestion for grabbing internships now? Is it Internshala or anything else? Which is a good platform?
Uh, yeah, basically finding an internship, I think you can apply to Internshala. It's not a bad opportunity. You might get an option from there, but I feel you should go and directly interact with the people in the LinkedIn. You can search for the startups who are looking for the mobile application developer. You can suggest them like I can work for you as an intern, and you can showcase them the project which you made. Like you know everything, but you need to have a good amount of legit project which can showcase your talent. So only thing needed for an fresher to get an internship right now is you need to have a good projects which you can do on your own also. Like you can make good amount of project and showcase them to them that I already knew this much amount of stuff and I can add value to your community or your organization. So you can take me as an internship. So it can be a good opportunity. So basically you need to have a project. So they don't expect you need to learn a Kotlin or something. You know Kotlin, it's very good, but you need to showcase like I knew you are a legit person. For that, you need to have good amount of projects.
That's a very valid point. So definitely, projects are needed for everyone to like just as a proof of work, so that they can showcase something to the company they're applying for. Also, I find Angelus to be pretty good for startup hirings. So if you want to work at a startup, I guess you can also go and check out Angelus. We have another question for from Rishu. Rishu is asking how to work on projects, like how to approach it. So
How to, yeah. So approach it can be like you can look around the problems which you are facing or the people around you are facing. Like you can make application for that. Right now, I'm making application just for myself. Like sometimes I take a target. Suppose I will read a book for 100 days. So I want to keep a track of it. So counting it, I don't find it convenient. So basically, what I do, I'm making application for it. So it will make me convenient. So you can do something for yourself, which can make your life easy, or the people around them. You can help them, or you can go and approach some business or something like what problem they are facing. You can help them. So these kind of ideas, like you need to get for obviously you need to get like I made sometimes you need to make projects just for learning. Suppose I made a clone of WhatsApp just to learn how WhatsApp is working, how everything works. So during my learning phase, I also made a WhatsApp application. I know it's not in use. So everything you make, it's not that it should be in use, it should be used by everyone, otherwise it's not worth it. No. You can make any project that could be beneficial to you as a learning. You can showcase that project also to them because you made it and it's working project. So I made WhatsApp just to learn how the chatting thing works, how the end-to-end encryption works. So it will be easy to do project by yourself if you don't find any project around you or you don't have any idea. If you're curious about how Facebook works, try to explore like how to make Facebook itself.
I
So
mean, yeah, definitely making some projects to like learn yourself, like copying maybe some other apps, like cloning other apps, also helping out businesses are pretty valid points in my opinion. Like definitely helping out local businesses should be on the top of your list because
yeah.
that's important right now. We have another question from Harsh Avinash. He's asking, Kotlin right now is super new and there have been cases where there are changes that completely change the way the language works. So does it make sense to learn it? Pratik,
So
any opinions for this?
yeah, the thing is that the learn if you see the Flutter is the newest of all three of them, but the companies are looking for the Flutter developers. They are making application in Flutter. So companies are looking for Kotlin developers because it's efficient. And if the changes are happening, so companies what they do, they have proper version of application been made. Suppose this version of application made with this version of Kotlin code, so they use this code of Kotlin throughout. So they that is not there that the whole Kotlin, the previous version are been scraped off. That version will be there and will be valid. And after few changes, like it's obviously the changes are being made in Kotlin, it's for the good. So obviously they will try to change something if the minor changes are there. So they will change in the application. And if you see the Flutter, like Flutter sometimes like it's have the proper version changes and it has lot of bugs, but still the companies are taking Flutter internships and looking for Flutter developers and they are making application Flutter. So I don't think you will be having less opportunity in Kotlin or something because there are companies looking for Kotlin developers compared to Java developers, I feel.
And also, just to add
I
to that, Kotlin right now, it's not, they don't usually have any breaking changes. It's quite stable now because
Yeah,
really huge organizations have already migrated to Kotlin completely. So you won't have any problems on that.
yeah,
also like almost everything changes after a while. So like change is constant anywhere. So it doesn't make sense to drop it or like learn it after some time. If you are really excited to learn Kotlin, you should learn it right now.
yeah. This is the time. Like if you are curious about app development, I feel you should learn Kotlin.
Yeah. And coming to Kotlin versus like you also answered something about Flutter. So do you have any opinions regarding Flutter and like is Flutter better than native or is it close to native or is it very bad? Like do you have any things to add to this?
I feel it depends upon the companies like what they are looking for. If they need one code base, obviously they will go for Flutter. If they need the separate application, native application for Android and iOS, they will definitely go for Kotlin. I'm not saying they will look for Java. They'll obviously try to get Kotlin because it's new and it's faster. So they will look for Kotlin developers. And when it comes to Flutter, Flutter is basically it's good app, good, but right now it's not stable as compared to how much Kotlin is. Kotlin is right now in a very good stable condition. So there are very less changes, but in Flutter, sometimes the update comes and it's scraped off some of the features itself. So right now Flutter is not stable, but the application, the design, the usability I find in Flutter, it's pretty cool. Like you can do good amount of designing and everything in a very easy manner. I'm not saying that can't be done in Kotlin. Kotlin, you can in Kotlin also you can do everything, but you need to work for it. So both have different advantages and disadvantages, but I find it both of them are pretty good. And it depends upon basically usability, what the companies is looking for, and what interests you better.
Yeah, makes sense. Uh, Ritik, we have another question from Rishu over here. Can you
Yeah.
please tell us?
So he's asking which one to approach, cross-platform or native, and how to decide this.
I have learned cross-platform and native both. So I will tell you it depends if you are looking for the internship right now. So companies prefer native right now. So they are looking for the native developers more rather than Flutter. But it's not that you won't be getting any opportunities in Flutter. Flutter also have opportunities coming up, and I feel over the time Flutter will be above all the development thing. But yeah, both have their opportunities. You can select according to you. And I, if you know Kotlin, I don't think it will be like tough for you to switch to Flutter or anything. If company requires you to do Flutter, I don't think you will have much problem with it. It's pretty easy. And most importantly, if you know Kotlin, if you know native, you know the concepts of how applications are actually working. In Flutter, it's kind of like how you do Python. In Python, already there are functions which predefined. It's pretty easy for you to do everything as compared to doing C, C++. So it's similar. In Flutter, everything is already been predefined. You don't know how background thing works. So when it comes to understanding of how actual applications work, I feel native is very good, and everyone should learn native before going for cross-platform application development.
Ritik, do you want to add anything to this? I mean, whatever you said, it makes total sense to me.
Yeah, exactly. Like, knowledge of native is very important because it allows you to understand what is going on. And as you mentioned, like Flutter is also very good, but having that knowledge of native will improve your Flutter experience also. It will allow you to make more subtle changes and you'll know exactly what something is affecting.
Agreed. So, Pratik, can you tell us a little bit about how having the knowledge of Android helped you in grabbing a placement at Cisco, probably? Because that's congratulations on that, by the way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
congratulations.
thank you. Yeah. So basically, yeah, mostly most of the people have a mindset like if you're going for on-campus recruitment, you only need to know DSA or something, and whatever you do in clubs and all, it doesn't matter. Like people do have opinion. I also had an opinion before, like whatever I'm doing, it might not be helpful for me in the on campus if I'm going. But thing is that when you go for on campus, the first round is DSA, it's an exam. Second round is a coding interview, that is also DSA. But when you go for third round, so as you all know, first second round, if a person, if like suppose from 30 people have qualified from the first and second round, so all have full DSA knowledge. Everyone is at the same place at this point of time. When it comes to interview, you have something to showcase. If you know, like you know this framework, you have worked on this, so you have more experience over all the others. And let me tell you, as an experience through all this process, my whole second round of interview was discussing about what I did in DSC, what all projects I did, and how much people I impacted with my projects. These are only I think was discussing, and I find this that was that added value to my resume, and that made me stand out from all the other people who were qualified in that lot. And I was pretty confident. It was like cakewalk for me. It was pretty easy because I was only speaking about my projects, which I made it and I knew it very well, like what I did. So it was pretty easy for me. Like after like two rounds, like third and fourth round was only discussing about what is my experience with DSC, how I manage my time, my studies with clubs and everything, and what all projects I did, how I collaborated with people, how do I manage with people. So these are basically tells the company like how good you are to work with community, how you can collaborate, how easily you are collaborating with people, with so many people in the community, and how you are impacting others' life. So I feel being in community really helped me a lot, and it added value to my resume and made me stand out of all the other people.
Wow. So I guess that was a lot of questions to you. I mean, we had a lot of fun, talking about your experiences as an Android developer. Uh, I hope all of you enjoyed this session that we had. Also, we have another question. Any wildcard entries in DSC? Actually, no, we just got done with our recruitment. So, if you have any doubts, you can just ping us on our Android Study Jams group, Telegram group, and we'll be ready to answer your doubts over there. But unfortunately, no, the recruitments are over now. We cannot do anything about it.
After this study jumps
But
too, we have the group active. We'll have the group alive and active so that you can just hit us up with any doubts. And since it's a community, anyone will help you out there.
yeah, definitely. Like someone or the other person might be over there, like ready to help you.
And basically, if you are here, you want to join DSC just for learning purposes. I'm telling you, if you are in the outer circle, also you will learn throughout the process because we continuously have events. We are talking with you. You can talk with any of like Siddharth, Ritik. They will obviously help you out with whatever project you are doing, whatever errors you are facing. So if you are thinking of joining DSC for the learning purpose, I feel from the outer circle also you have the same advantage. You can learn in the same way, and obviously you will have one more chance next year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Thanks a lot, Pradeep, for sharing your valuable knowledge with all of us and your like a journey as an Android developer and now going towards software engineering role at Cisco. Um, so I guess this was it for the last session of Android Study Jams. And Ritik, do you want to like do a final beatbox for all of us and end to the like the whole thing?
Sure. I'll go one last time. Maybe until next event. Well, okay. So
This, I mean, wow, man, that's very impressive,
thanks a
man.
lot.
Yeah, it's really amazing.
Thanks a lot.
So I'll be just leaving the links to the app submission and progress report submission forms in the chat, and I guess we can end this session now.
Yeah.
So Pradeep, thanks for coming and joining us for and telling us about your story. And Ritik, thanks a lot for conducting all of these sessions and like
Very welcome.
sharing your knowledge with everyone in the community.
Thanks a lot to
So
everyone who viewed and attended all these sessions. And thanks a lot, Siddharth, for helping us out here, there, and helping the whole process go smoothly.
all right. So I guess we can end the session now. Let me just put in the links very fast. And by the way, these links will be shared on the Telegram group also. And if you're not a part of the Telegram group, you should join right now. The links will be coming a little bit here and there because there's a lag here. And this was the progress report submission link, and I'm sharing the app submission link right now. And this one is the app submission link. So thanks a lot, guys, for coming here and joining us for all of these sessions. And I hope you all had an amazing experience learning Android and becoming Android developers, and maybe like starting a journey as Android developers or getting better at Android. So I guess we can end the session now. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, everyone.